welcome to Radio Who Corner to Corner. My name is DJ Geoff and I'm joined tonight by...
DJ Paul. Yeah, hi, great mate. How's it going with you?
Groovy, smashing, yeah.
Groovy, yeah, great. So what are we talking about today, great mate?
Well, tonight we're doing our top 10 Doctor Who moments. We're going to count down.
Wowza! That's amazing. And I even interrupted you there without even listening to what you said.
So you've got no idea what's going on.
Crazy groovy, baby. Oh, yeah. I'm feeling some pretty good vibes tonight, me old great mate.
Yeah, it's groovy, baby. I don't know how long we can keep up this sort of Austin Powers type thing.
I can keep it going for ages. Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to count down in vague.
Counting down our top 10.
Yeah. If anyone
That's
listening,
my other DJ voice. Sorry, mate. That's what DJs do. Is they interrupt each other when they're handing over the handover.
Well, I was just going to say, anyone listening, they may not know what the top 10 is anymore because it doesn't really seem to be relevant, does it? You know,
there's always a top 10
is
something,
there?
Mate. It must be. There has to be. Otherwise, life just isn't worth living.
Yeah, it's not on the radio anymore. I suppose iTunes has a top 10, but it changes by the hour, doesn't it?
iTunes?
Yeah.
What the hell is iTunes?
Well, do you know, I don't have Spotify. I don't use it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Breaking news. Geoff does not have Spotify.
And you know what?
Do you not have any sort of music streaming service? You do another one?
This is what I did the other day. I went to a shop and I picked up a CD, which I paid for, and then I went back and I put it in my computer, and I plugged a cable in, and I put it on my iPhone, and then I plugged it into the car, and I listened to it in the car. And it was Sam Ryder. I must say, he's
great, mate,
very
Sam.
good. He's abundantly joyful and full of charisma.
It is impossible to not like Sam Ryder.
Oh, yeah,
really?
he's fantastic.
He's just brilliant. I watched him on the New Year's Eve.
Yeah. I'd seen him a few times before, and I thought I must check his album out, and then I caught that.
I won't go that far.
Well, I did, and then he had Justin from The Darkness, who were also one of my favourite bands, come out.
He was on there, wasn't he? On the New Year's Eve thing,
and they were so good together.
Kind of rocky with their guitars, mate. It was
right.
great.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to buy that.
Sam Ryder with his great beard. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have any music streaming services.
Wow.
Because I find when you get older, your time to listen to stuff decreases. So I don't see the point in paying for. I'd rather just buy stuff I think I'm going to be really into. So anyway, we've digressed. So back on track, and we've also got some other top moments from some of our listeners to read out a little bit later. So let's kick this off at number 10. My list is actually 13 things on here because I really couldn't kind of decide. So I'm just going to
get it down to 10.
I'm just going to randomly pick them, and this is not in any particular order. Although
I'm disappointed now. Actually, I spent ages putting mine into order.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Literally
what I will
minutes.
do though is, I will put it in an order.
Go on.
I will try.
You want to.
But I'm going to have you
start
now. I'm going to have you start so I can try to order. So,
oh my goodness! Right,
do.
Can we afford a band? Can we afford a non-royalty
radio jingle?
Jingle or something?
Jingle.
Right. Okay.
Number 10.
At number 10, great mate, I've got a good one here. See if you know this one. Ooh. Right, I'll tell you where this one's coming from. This is from... now, do you know what? I put this in at the last minute because I had something else in at number 10, but it shifted out because I was watching The Mark of the Rani, right? Because I'm a little bit behind. I'm just working my way through season 22... 22 box set. Colin Baker's first one. It's taken me a while, right? And I've seen all these loads of times, but I haven't watched Mark of the Rani for ages because generally it's not one of my favourite episodes. But there is a bit in part 2 of Mark of the Rani which I thought that has got to go into my top 10 Doctor Who moments. And it's this moment where there's a young guy in there, right? His name is Luke, okay? He's a kind of a strapping, blonde, kind of beefy, hunky kind of guy, and he's really, really nice, and he's helpful with Perry and everything else, and there's a little bit of a frizz on between them, possibly, and then suddenly, right, he stands on a mine in some woods, a trap left by the evil Rani, and he's turned into a tree. Right? It's not just any tree, mate. This is not just any kind of old tree. It looks very different from all the other trees in the woods on account of the fact it's made of, I don't know what it's made of, right? It's made of rubber or some sort of polystyrene.
Yeah, I remember this.
And nobody had time or the energy to actually put any texture into it, so it doesn't really look like wood. It looks more like kind of, I think it's foam. Actually, it's kind of, and clearly there's a actor, might even be the same actor who played Luke, inside said tree, because the tree's limbs, right, are kind of suspiciously arm-shaped and proportioned, and indeed one of those branches wraps itself around Perry so as to protect her from some evil wrongdoings a little bit later on. It's totally bonkers, and that, mate, that's why it's in at number 10, because there are so many Doctor Who moments like this, right, which always seem like a really good idea when you're writing them on a script, and yet somehow the memo is lost when it comes to the production, or there's not quite enough time, or there's not quite enough money, or somebody hasn't quite understood it, or there hasn't been a Toad meeting, or somebody, do you know what I mean? There's something somewhere, no matter how great Doctor Who can be, there's always a foam tree every few stories or so.
Is this,
and it is so brilliantly Doctor Who. It deserves to go in to represent all of those moments that haven't quite worked in Doctor Who. I'm talking about the Murka from Warriors of the Deep as well.
In
is that
Warriors
where you were
of the
going?
it was, yeah. Doctor Who's Die Hard. It's just Warriors of the Deep, as per the tweets from earlier.
Yes, you're not going to live. I shall constantly remind you that you compared Warriors of the Deep to Die Hard,
because it's an action thriller in a confined space.
You don't need to explain it, mate. You did.
Well, I obviously
do. Warriors of the Deep podcast. Right. Okay. So that's my number 10, the foam tree from Mark of the Rani. And what's yours, big great mate?
Now for something completely different. Mine is the blanket on the bed in Listen.
That's a good one.
A Moffat masterpiece in fear, as the whole episode really is about the sort of emotion and concept of fear, and it's a brilliant example of something, as Moffat often did, taking the everyday, the mundane, or playground games or whatever, and twisting them, and inverting the thing under the bed into the thing on the bed, but doing something essentially with no money behind it or anything, with just that ready pink blanket just slowly rising when the Doctor and Clara and the kid are facing away from it, and if I remember rightly, it's a little bit of saucy lens flare that comes in. And it's just so well done, and then it slips down, doesn't it, the blanket? And I've paused it to look. You see something sort of silvery under it, and you never really. It's not clear, what it is, or if there was even anything there, in at all, But it's a great scene, and I remember feeling very sort of uncomfortable watching
Freaked
that.
out.
Yeah. It's a great episode, that one. So yeah, that's gone in at 10 for me. I think that's brilliant.
That's a good one, mate. Yeah, I like that, because that is also, that's quite a unique moment in Doctor Who as well, isn't it? I don't think
it's not sort
really
of
quite like it.
No, not
never
really.
Explained.
No, it's not explained, and it's not big or a creature or anything particularly, but it's extremely effective. And
simply something rising up under the blankets of
and it's just that's all it is, but it's really scary, and it's brilliantly realised. So that's
who
my
wouldn't
number
be scared by something like that? Yeah, and it's like the Doctor's reaction to it as well, isn't it? Because it's like, don't look around, just try and ignore it, and then it might just disappear into another quantum universe or something. That's a good one, mate. I like it. I like where you go. Are we on number 9 now?
In at number 9.
In at number 9, we've got from me this time, if we're going this way, tit for tat and backwards and forwards. At number 9 on my list, great mate, we've got a sequence from another Peter Davison story. Actually, no, the last one was Colin Baker, isn't it? We got a Peter Davison 5th Doctor story. Those of a certain age will remember a lovely story called The Visitation.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Indeed. This is one where the
Pteroleptils.
The pteroleptils. That's a really good impression of a pteroleptil.
Is it? I'm waving my hands. No one can see.
It's quite amazing.
Jazz hands, pteroleptils.
Freaked out for a minute. Just totally freaked out. All the flapping green
don't
skin
watch
on
the
your face as well.
don't watch the blanket behind me on the washing machine.
You're freaking me out now. We've got pteroleptils and a rising blanket. That's just too much. But here's the moment that freaks me out. Okay, so there was me, a young whippersnapper of a lad, really just getting into my very first taste of Doctor Who.
You only watched this one last week, didn't you?
The Visitation.
Finale.
I watched it for a little while actually, but
no, I was trying to imply that you were young, but you've rejected it.
Oh, I see.
So now we'll have to just go back to old jokes.
Just go old jokes. Yeah. Sorry, mate. I'm sorry. It just went straight over my head, mate.
Well, you could. It's your poor hearing.
Can I do my story now?
Sorry. Yeah.
You quite finished?
I'm interrupting you now.
Yeah.
Zing.
Right, zing. Okay, right, here we go. So in Visitation, part 3, right, there's this brilliant moment where the Doctor has his sonic screwdriver destroyed. Utterly, completely banjaxed. It's gone. That's it. And I remember this because it was quite a shocking moment at the time, because although the Doctor didn't use the sonic screwdriver all the time, it was still very much a part of the Doctor's kind of wardrobe of things, whip it out, attack a lock with it, make something go spark, flash, the door would open and everyone would run out and escape into said corridor beyond. But there was none of that under John Nathan Turner, because he didn't like the sonic screwdriver. He thought it was just a very easy get-out clause that writers could use to spring the Doctor and or companions magically from jail, thus removing some of the conflict and obstructions that the Doctor must overcome in his struggle towards the climax of said story. So what happened after that was obviously a lot more creative methods of escaping from jail and incarceration and running into corridors and everything else. But do you know what? It struck me that, when I was thinking about this, is that so that was an episode in 1982, I believe, and the sonic screwdriver never appeared until the TV movie in 1996.
Really?
So
Was it
for all
that
that time, the Doctor did not have the sonic screwdriver. Wow. And do you know what? Actually, weirdly, we never really missed it.
No, do you know what? Now I think back on, Sylvester and Collins episodes, the lack of it doesn't even sort of jump out at all.
No, it really doesn't.
And I've realised this you must have this must be what inspired your post on the Facebook page about would you keep the Sonic or remove it. There was quite a good bit of debate going on at facebook.com/.
There was some anger, I think, as well as how could anyone possibly.
Hang on, I got to plug the website.
Sorry, mate, go on. Yeah.
Facebook.com/whoc2c if you are on there, not on Twitter. There was some interesting comments on there, wasn't there?
There was some anger. Yeah. How could I suggest? Actually, I don't think anything was directed at that, but there was. There was. There's a sort of like, you can't take away the sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, but they did.
It's almost the companion of the Doctor's.
I mean, when I think of the Doctor, that's like, I remember my son saying to me, does the Doctor use a gun or anything? And I said, no. We were talking about Jodie's Doctor. She has a screwdriver thing, and my kids have seen my toy one of it. And it's quite unusual for a sort of heroic character to not use fisticuffs or have a sort of obviously weapon type thing, and it's identifiable with the Doctor. But when you say actually for 5 years of the classic series or so it wasn't there, you kind of think actually that's quite a big chunk of time. Sometimes like someone's famous. I'm trying to think, like Captain America's shield might get broken, in the comics or something, and then it gets fixed a bit later or something, But yeah, that was like the Sonic was done and dusted then, and
it was done and dusted. And Peter Davison's face, or his face is like, I feel as though you just killed an old friend.
Yes,
he's horrified. He's aghast. He can't believe that this trusty little tool that's been with him since he used to be Patrick Troughton has suddenly been blasted by some half-burnt faced lizard creature from the Tin Clavic mines of whatever it was, I forget. Yeah. But nonetheless, it's quite clearly there.
My son was studying the Great Fire of London at school last term, and he was quite interested in it. And I said to him, there's a Doctor Who about this. And he, is there? I said, yeah, it was caused by lizard aliens from space. Really? Yeah. No, sadly not, Bud, I said.
Was it really? That's the trouble at that age. You can't believe anything.
Yeah, I could have sent him back in to say, I know, sir, it was the pteroleptals in Pudding Lane that did it. But,
and
that might have put him in detention.
Having a word with you, Geoff.
Yeah.
Yes, that would not be good. But do you know what? It's because I do think I must admit I'm not a fan of it. It's just been used for literally bloody everything lately, And by lately, I really mean since 2005. It's in the modern series. It has been waved around in the air. It's been pointed at things. It's been used as a kind of tricorder. Come get rid of the aliens. Come just about everything. And I know the 13th Doctor, she says that, it's not just the Sonic, it's lots of other things. And she's a kind of tongue-in-cheek sort of explanation as it's part this, part this, part this, part that, part of everything else. And she's made it herself, so she's obviously kind of put all sorts of things into it. But, she does wave it around. The 11th Doctor waves it around. You've got the 11th and the 10th in the 50th anniversary story, kind of comparing their size of the size of their Sonics in a bit of Stephen Moffat-inspired brilliant cleverness.
Risque.
I'm saying that ironically, obviously, but nothing like a sexual innuendo when comparing Sonic. So there's all that kind of stuff, and there has been some actual genuine cleverness actually in the same story, the Day of the Doctor, when all three of them, the War Doctor and 10 and 11, kind of combine the same Sonic. And it kind of builds to open the door, which actually, because Stephen Moffat can't refuse a good punchline, was always open anyway.
Yes, and the because it's three different Sonics at different, technically from
same Sonic at three different times.
Yeah,
allegedly, right? I don't know, because it looks very different, but I don't know. Maybe the software's the same. They do go into that, and do you know what? I'm disappointed I'm even talking so much about it, because I think it has far too much screen time. It is, in my opinion, too easy to wave around. I love the psychic paper. Let's just stick with that. Let's use the Sonic, but less frequently, because it is just it's just it's become really boring now.
It's become handy to get out of stuff quickly in episodes that are constrained by their time.
You're telling a story in 43 to 50 minutes, and I think Russell T Davies said it in 2005 in an interview in Doctor Who magazine. I read it, so it's got to be true. And he said there's not time to keep the Doctor in jail or whatever, so he just needs to get out. So wave the Sonic at the lock, and boom, he's free. That's that's okay. Up to a point, or every other story maybe. And I know I'm sounding like a ranting old man now, but it just. My feeling is that it does stop the programme from being a little bit more creative. And do you know what? There's a sequence in Remembrance of the Daleks which always makes me think of this, actually. The Doctor inspects the first corpse he comes across that's been shot by a Dalek. And he knows, right? He's feeling around with it. He's feeling the body with his fingertips. He's like, massive internal displacement. That line. He doesn't wave the Sonic at it. Any of the modern Doctors would wave their Sonic over the body, look at the Sonic for some reason, like it has, I don't know, some sort of display there, which I've never seen, and say, massive internal displacement, is being shot by a Dalek. And there's not much difference in a way between the two, because you're still fudging, really. I mean, how does the Doctor tell just from the kind of, well, maybe you can feel where the liver's supposed to be, and it's suddenly not there. The rib cage has collapsed and there's no internal organs. They've all turned to mush underneath it. That's it. Doing that with his hands is a little bit more gruesome than waving a magic wand over it and looking at the display and doing it. So, please, new showrunners, I would love it and I'm probably alone in this, but for the sake of an old man, knock it back a little bit, would you, please?
I don't mind it too much. I think the thing I don't like when they do is the sort of out of Sonic character things, like when Matt Smith's Doctor uses it in the Rings of Akaton as some sort of weird sort of Harry Potter style magic wand type blasting thing, and it's never done that before or probably after. There's a bit in Flux when 13 uses it to send out a sort of like radio wave type signal.
It's like a sonic pulse.
Well, it is a sonic pulse. Which
I
can accept that
sort of thing. Yeah, exactly. I can accept that. But reading whether or not a body someone's been murdered in a certain way, or what at the end of Flatline when the 12th Doctor literally points it at the boneless. And they all
he does it then as well. Yeah,
whence they came.
He blasts them off, doesn't he?
Literally steps out the TARDIS. The time for the episode has been pretty much used up, and the Doctor's been working on something. Steps out the TARDIS, and boom. Well, that's the end of that. A really good story is kind of just ended.
It's wrapped
waving
up.
the Sonic at
but
it.
see, this is an interesting point because there's often talk of we should have seen this in an episode, or we should have seen that, they should have done this, and for any number of things, but they can't show not tell. Well, there isn't time, and also there isn't budget to do 5-minute digressions to explain something that a quick wave of the Sonic and a bit of exposition can cover.
But it gets a little bit boring after a while.
Well, yeah, there are certain times when it doesn't work. It's overused, but then there are other things where we have to just be told something because you can't go and show it.
Okay.
You see what I mean? Like not,
Yeah, I do. But then saying that,
this door's locked, and
Yeah, mate. Yeah, kind of. That's probably a discussion for another podcast. To be fair, because there's a lot to say. Well, if you have to tell it and you can't show it, don't write that in the first place. Do something else, but again, that is still something that could suffer from time pressures. You could write a lovely script that does all that, and over the course of its constant changes, just to hammer the story into shape, and then during production, whilst filming, and actually suddenly we can't do this thing anymore. We've got to do something that just fixes it because we're running out of time. And we don't have that location anymore, or we don't have that studio, or that actor's not available, or whatever. Then you've got to fudge it somehow, and that does happen.
It does. It's easy to criticise it, an example of it, but we don't know what was going on behind the scenes, and that might have been essential.
Not until afterwards, and we read about it in the magazines and on the line.
We get it.
But anyway, that's my number 9. So the destruction of the Sonic into Visitation. What's yours, Geoff?
Okay, I'm going to go with. Let's have a look. I'm going to go with something short and fun for number 9, which is the 13th Doctor doing the watch moment in Eve of the Daleks, where she comes out to face the Daleks and she says something like she makes a comment about being on time or something. She goes to demonstrate she's got a watch on, and she goes, not even wearing one, just doing it for effect. And it was such a silly little moment that it made me laugh, and when I rewatched the episode it made me laugh just as much, and I like those in anything, just little moments that are cool or silly or fun or whatever, and show thought that from the people involved of character stuff, or little moments like I was talking to a friend the other day, and there's a little moment in the new Avatar where a guy is in his crab suit. I've slipped it in.
You've watched the film now. You're still mentioning it.
But this is an example of a little cool moment. The guy's in his robot crab suit, and he does he punches his hand to his flat palm in the suit, and then the suit does it. Like when they're getting ready for battle, and it's a cool little visual moment. It means nothing, but it looks cool. So anyway, my number 9 is 13's watch moment in either of the Daleks. And also, actually, I've just thought of it. I'll chuck it in there. She does a little speech there in that episode about bettering oneself and improving oneself, doesn't she? Which is not a sort of big grandiose speech or anything. It's quite sort of small and short, but it's it quite powerful, I thought, in its message. So I'm going to chuck that in as number 9B.
Number 9B.
Yeah, or part 2.
That was okay. I'll let you have a number 9B.
Thanks.
I think some of mine have kind of squeezed into 2 or 3 anyway. So, oh dear, that's very good. I like that, mate. So, are we on number 8 now?
We are.
Dun, 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 dun. At number 8, mate, we're looking back in the 80s again. Actually, the same season, because this was a formative time of my life, and it was my first Doctor Who. But I'm going with. Well, do you know what? Again, this is a number 8A and 8B, and actually, I'm going to lump it all together under one umbrella, under one word, which is simply Earth Shock. Da, 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 da. Because, mate, that story is just amazing. And I get not everybody likes it. It's not everybody's cup of tea. And in modern day times, it probably doesn't stand up as much as it used to back in the 80s. But I tell you what, that was astonishing. And the first time I saw that, I was agog, A-G-O-G. I was agog at it, because I honestly was. And I remember the effect of part 1, which is the bit I put down originally, because that reveal, right, of the villain at the end of part 1, right, it was like nothing I've really experienced ever or since, or possibly one of my other moments of Doctor Who, which I'll come to, which has been just as amazing. But it's brilliant, when Doctor Who can keep its secrets for so long, and it's much more difficult now in the current age of diverse information and easy access to said information. But back in the 80s, it was probably a bit easier without social media and stuff. But nobody knew that the Cybermen were coming back. It was amazing. It was just, oh my God. And they looked different. So it took me a little while to think, are these actually Cybermen? Because they didn't quite look like the images I'd seen from Revenge of the Cybermen, which was obviously, quite a long way before. And then, of course, right at the end of that story, we get the other bit, which I was kind of dallying between, which is the death of Adric, which was just, unbelievable that Doctor Who could do this. So that whole story, which is an absolute cracker anyway, is just full of shocks and surprises, and I cannot forget it. And it always breaks my heart when that young lad at the end of it clutches hold of his string belt and gazes up at the looming face of the planet Earth as it rushes towards him in fiery apocalyptic climax.
Yeah. And causes the extinction of the dinosaurs,
which is amazing. I mean, I love that bit as well. Actually,
yeah, I'll tell my son about that.
It's total
when he gets
nonsense,
to that
but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
there you go. So all these events that the Doctor has somehow been responsible for. The
Fire of London was the
Fire of London, the extinction of the dinosaurs.
Yeah. Yeah, that we talked about that I think recently, didn't we? Because
we did. Yes.
So
I'm not going to make too much of a meal of it, but it was. And still is, and of course at the end of it you get the credits rolling up in silence, which again Doctor Who never did. It was, that joyous Peter Howell music, it's just gone. We just get a shot of the badge, the broken badge, and the credits rolling up with nothing, and it's heartbreaking, man. Absolutely heartbreaking. Whether you loved Adric or you hated him. And let's be honest, not everybody really liked Adric.
Yeah.
Would have been glad to see the back of him back in those days, but he was just a kid. He was just a teenager struggling with issues. He'd just lost his brother. He'd just been taken from his own universe, and he was trying to prove himself as part of a changing TARDIS crew with the likes of Tegan, right, who likes to dominate, Nyssa, who could be his best friend but isn't, because she's far too clever for him. And it's just, Adric's got nobody. He has no friends. No. Throughout the whole of his time in the TARDIS. And the one time where he can really prove his worth, he does a noble thing. He runs back just to prove to himself that he can crack this code, and we'll never know if he was able to do it or not.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it is.
Love it.
It's a great
Really
moment, isn't it?
stuff.
Because it's one of the only times that's a companion has bona fide died. In the show, and was I imagine a real shocker at the time, and but still is now. Really,
was a real shocker.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So my numero 8. I'm going to go with. I'm sort of probably a bit more modern on mine, and I'm going to go in with Jenna Coleman appearing as Oswin in Asylum of the Daleks months before.
Yes.
She'd already been announced that she was going to be Clara, and it would be appearing at Christmas and then in the Snowmen and then in the series after that. But I don't think anyone kind of knew. That she'd be Victorian Clara and then dying, coming back as modern Clara, and certainly no one knew that she was going to be future, Clara Oswin in Asylum of the Daleks. And I remember I sat down and watched the episode, and it was they're in the snow in the intro, aren't they? And the Dalek eye stalk thing pops up, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And then credit titles, and then Jenna, and I was like, what the hell? And I remember looking up on the phone. On my phone, Googling, is that because it looks like her, but she's not supposed to be here for months yet. What's going on? And she was so brilliant in that episode, and that great red dress and the souffles, and the Dalek, and she was so kind of, considering she never meets the Doctor in it, their banter and everything is so sparky between them. It's great. But you mentioned earlier about keeping secrets, and it's one of the things that we've both loved in the Chibnall era, and whilst it's great to have lots of exclusives in DWM and stuff for what's coming soon, I do fear slightly that we're going to know everything by November, and I do think that
we've got a whole 10 months to go. Time recording this in January,
and I think keeping secrets is so rewarding when you watch it. So hats off to the Moffat team there for being able to keep Jenna's surprise appearance secret like that. It was fantastic, and a great episode. I love Asylum of the Daleks. It's really good. So that's my number 8.
It's one of my favourite stories actually. It's I think it's a really, really clever script.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good one. I like it. Yes, well done. I do like that. So, what are we on now? We're on
7.
Number 7. Right now, number 7 is something very special. So, I'm gonna dip forward in time. I'm gonna come right up to date into the modern series, because I've been talking about classic Who for a while. But actually, this is something that the modern series has pulled off twice. And I couldn't decide which one of these was the best, but it is another reveal, another villain reveal, and of course it's the Master. And what I couldn't quite decide is whether the Master reveal in Utopia or the Master reveal in Spyfall. I couldn't give one or the other the edge, because both of them had me jumping off my sofa going, what? Oh my God, that's brilliant! kind of thing.
Brilliant!
Brilliant! And again, it was always a bit of fun in the old series when somebody who looked a little bit like Anthony Ainley in a bit of with a bit of face rubber. What they call it? What's that face rubber stuff?
Makeup.
No, the actual rubber.
Prosthetics.
No, never mind. What the fuck's it called?
I'm not cutting this bit. I'm going to leave it in.
Oh God.
Do you mean a prosthetic?
No, well, yes, but what's the rubber called? The rubber. What do they call the rubber that they make a rubber face out of?
A mask.
What is it? Yeah, I know it's a mask, but what's it made out of?
Latex.
Oh, thank Christ. There you go, latex.
That hurt. Sorry, listeners.
It's a bit disappointing, actually. Is it latex? Yeah, when they pull a bit of latex off, and it looks even more like Anthony Ainley. So that was always a bit of fun. And Roger Delgado as well, and it's brilliant. But I must admit, the modern series did this twice. And it was both instances. It was just brilliant. So we had the Derek Jacobi revealing himself to be the Master, because he had the fob watch thing, didn't he? The chameleon thing that's been used quite a bit since, and that was brilliant. Again, it was a really nice bit of sleight of hand, because a lot of stuff from that series then kind of tied up. We had The Face of Bo, You Are Not Alone, Professor Yana, Yana, and I love the fact actually that was another time where it kind of threw it down our throats. But actually, I didn't mind. I normally get quite irritated when a TV program tells me what to feel, but I loved the piling on of the expose, if you like, and Derek Jacobi turning from the kindest, most brilliant old man who you just want to cuddle into being an absolute tyrannical, homicidal bastard within literally a blink of an eye. And he plays it in his face as well, right? Because it suddenly looks evil, and he does an evil thing, and it's just, oh my goodness, and then he gets shot, and then he runs into the TARDIS, steals the TARDIS, and then regenerates into Mr. Saxon, who we now know is and has always been the Master. And it's, wow, that is without any doubt, I think, Russell T Davies's most brilliant kind of coup d'etat, if you like, throughout the whole of his reign on Doctor Who. I absolutely loved it. The story itself, I thought, was a pile of shit, to be honest, up until that last 15 minutes. But man, oh man, those last 15 minutes were the kind of thing that Doctor Who exists for. So, yes, that was good. And then, of course, we get it again in Spyfall. And again, Sacha Dhawan, who has been one of the loveliest people, a friend that the Doctor blows French phone kisses to, on WhatsApp or whatever, and they exchange text messages and picture messages with hidden codes in them, and he turns out to be the spy master, and again another homicidal, maniacal monster of a person, someone who just exists to literally destroy the Doctor.
Yeah, because
that's the hobby. That is what the Master is all about. Yeah. And both of those reveals have just played it for all the kind of, just the brilliance of whipping off the mask. And actually, that's the best thing, because neither of those actors, Derek Jacobi or Sacha Dhawan, wore a mask. It's purely in the performance and the facial expressions and the voice. Everything suddenly changes, and the blood chills when you're watching them do that. And it's astonishingly
well, they were both, sort of credited as just being, and Yana,
and
weren't
Professor
they?
Yana,
there was
none of these clever anagrams of the word master.
Although they did do that with Sacha Dhawan when he came back. He was credited as someone else in the episode description after Spyfall. But those are both brilliant moments. I don't know which. I think they're both great. I'd probably lean towards the Spyfall one, because the rest of that episode is cracking.
I think that's probably what does it. But I like the conceit in Utopia. The fact it's built up throughout
it's really
the
well
series.
done. Yeah, that's good. Okay, well done. So what number are we on now?
6, I think.
6, yeah.
No, you're on your 7, aren't you?
Oh, I'm on 7. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go with... I'm just looking at my list here. I'm going to go old, and I'm going to go Pertwee, Third Doctor, using his sonic to blow up the landmines to escape the Sea Devils.
Yeah, we've been talking about sonic screwdrivers doing weird things, haven't we? Yeah,
and so, they've got... the Master on one side of them, and the Sea Devils coming at the other, that the Master's just summoned, and then a bunch of landmines in front. And I remember the music being like, wee, ooh, wee, what 70s Who music is like.
Malcolm Clark's like experimental radiophonic pulses.
There's a lot of great stuff in Pertwee's era, because it was sort of a little bit more action-y type hero, and he's the Aikido and all of that stuff, and all of his vehicles, the Whomobile, and stuff like that. They're just great fun. But that moment in particular, that's when the Sea Devils come up out of the water, isn't it? And because prior to them, we've only seen like hands and stuff like that, haven't we? Is that right?
Yes, you're right. This is when we
yeah.
see them in full reveal.
That's
coming
it.
out
Yeah,
of the water in their stringy vests.
Classic shot of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I would. I'm going to go with for there.
That's a good one. I like that. Yeah, nice one, Geoff. And I'm disappointed now that I haven't actually pulled in any John Pertwee stories.
But you know what? Doing this list is really difficult. Mine leans, I'll be honest, quite heavily towards 13 and actually 12 Doctor actually. But you know, because we were going to record yesterday, weren't we? And I said I've only got 5. I wasn't ready.
I was ready. He wasn't ready.
And it's hard picking them because
you left me waiting.
There's loads of
me hanging on.
I did. There's loads of great moments, but trying to narrow it down, and you know, some of these are sort of quite big moments, like the the blanket in Listen, and others that I've picked just a line like 13's watch moment. You know, so I didn't want to just pick kind of like, you know, the big stuff that everyone would be like, oh yeah, I love that moment. You know, I wanted to try and pick some other bits. So
yeah.
So
well, that's interesting you say that, because as we come now to number 6, are we on number 6 now?
I've done 4.
10, 9, 8, 6, 7 rather. 6. We are on number 6. Have you done 4? Have we swapped places? That's probably my fault then. Sorry about that.
I've done the blanket on the bed, 13's
you
watch
did.
Moment, Jenna appearing early,
yeah,
and Pertwee Sonic.
And Pertwee Sonic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There you did. Yeah. So, yeah, you must have done 2 in a row. That's right. That's fine.
Okay.
So, as we come now to my number 6 then, in that case, I've kind of realised, and I don't know why I didn't realise this before, because it's quite obvious now that I look at it, my list is very heavily Fifth Doctor biased. I can't help that, listeners. It's just the kind of guy that I am. I love the Fifth Doctor's adventures. These are the ones that I kind of grew up with.
You shouldn't apologise for that.
Shouldn't I?
No.
I feel I must. I feel I should. But do you know what?
I'm gonna.
I don't care. So.
No, you shouldn't. You know, my list is heavily 13 favoured.
And why not? Indeed.
If you don't like it, don't listen.
That was very confrontational, Mr. Geoff.
Ooh,
right,
yeah.
okay, before we get involved in any of that nonsense, right, here we go. So in at my number, what did we say it was? Number 6. We're going to reference
We'd be
all-time...
really bad DJs. Oh, sorry, you're
really
not actually number
DJs.
1. I've made a mistake.
No, because they got producers telling them all this stuff
Yeah,
in their ear. We don't have that.
Where's our
We're doing
producer?
everything ourselves, mate. Yeah.
We need one.
Right, so in at number 6, mate, we've got the incredible climax from my favourite ever Doctor Who story. It's part 3 of The Caves of Androzani. Yeah, groovy. Da-da-da-da. Mate, The Caves of Androzani, as you well know, is my top all-time favourite ever Doctor Who story. I love it. I do. It's just brilliant. And I haven't watched it for many, many years because I'm waiting for the Blu-ray collection box set of it so I can enjoy all of season 21 in its glory, because it's all fabulous. But for me, it finishes at the end of Androzani Part 4. But do you know what? I could have gone for the end of Androzani Part 4, where the Doctor regenerates, because Part 4, the whole of that episode is just incredible. But it begins that whole climactic moment of the most climactic story in the whole entirety of Doctor Who. Actually starts in Part 3. So I'm not going to spoil it too much for you, Geoff, right? But let me just set the scene for you, okay? Basically, the Doctor is in trouble. He hasn't really done anything other than just appeared on this planet where every party, if you like, every faction, right, every power group, every unit, every soul is in conflict with everything and everybody. And each one of these different elements don't trust anybody else, either within their own group or on any of the opposing groups, right? You've got everything happens on this planet, Androzani Minor, but there are vested interests on its twin planet, Androzani Major, right? And there's cross machinations between all of them. And it's just incredible how this web is spun around the Doctor. And without him really going out to be involved in any of it, he sparks off, he triggers the escalation of events into rapid apocalyptic momentum, right? Everything suddenly accelerates because the Doctor is there, because everybody thinks that the Doctor is an agent of the other group or the other person, or he's working for somebody, and now they've got to accelerate their plans, and now they've got to change their plans, and now they've got to do this, and now that person's got to die, and now we've got to do this, and it's backwards and forwards, and in amongst all this stuff which is getting wrapped round Doctor and Perry, all he has to do really is try and survive. And he can't, because every time he tries, somebody else takes him away from Perry, right? Or takes, you know what I mean? Or puts him in a jail, and there's no sonic screwdriver in those days, right? So it's difficult to get out of things. So at the end of part 3, right, the Doctor finally takes things into his own hands. He's been carted off to Androzani Major as a bit of a prisoner by these gun runners, right? Stots, who are violent, vicious buggers. They really are quite dark, and they're not nice people. They're real mercenaries. They got kind of real caliber machine guns and everything. And you know, when these things fire, you know about it. It's not a crappy laser blast. It's a proper machine gun rattle. So anyway, the Doctor is on his way to Androzani Major. He's been blindfolded. He manages to get himself out of bondage, so he gets his arms free, he's got his legs free and everything else, and he manages to lock himself into the pilot's chair in this spaceship, and he turns the ship around. So now instead of heading to Androzani Major, it's going back to Androzani Minor, because he's got to get Perry out of the hellhole that she's in the middle of. He has to. There is no one else is gonna rescue her at all. She cannot get out of where she's doing. The Doctor struggled to get out of where he was, but it is absolutely terminal. If he doesn't get back to Androzani Minor, then she has no future at all. It's really not going to be pleasant. So he is so driven, it is unreal. And right at the end of this episode, so you've got the Doctor literally steering the ship, pushing his foot down on the accelerator. Everything's going faster. You hear the engines building up, the camera's shaking, right? Stotsy, the gun runner guy, is literally trying to blast through to get into the cabin so he can grab his ship back, and he manages to get a hole in the wall. He can get a clear shot at the Doctor, and it is just incredible. And he's right, all right, come on, hands in the air, over here. And the Doctor's like, why? And he's like, and the gun runner's like, because I'll kill you if you don't. And the Doctor's like, not a very persuasive argument, actually, Stotts, because I'm going to die soon anyway, unless, of course, and then Stotts goes, I'll give you to the count of 3. The Doctor continues, he's not having any of this stuff. He goes, unless, of course, I can find the antidote. I owe it to my friend to try because I got her into this. So you see, I'm not going to let you stop me now. And then Stotts goes, 3, and the planet's surface fills the screen. And you get that howl, the sting at the end as the credits close in. And, mate, it is astonishingly good. Brilliant stuff.
I'll just tell...
that has never been beaten in the whole of Doctor Who. Yep. Guaranteed.
Well, I've got a cliffhanger in my list that will beat that. I'm just going to tell the listeners that Paul did all of that. Paul did that from memory.
Yeah, all from memory.
Yeah,
all of it, because I've seen it so many times. I don't have the transcript in front of me at all.
No, he's in costume
really
as well. He's in costume as well. Eat your celery.
The Fifth Doctor was brilliant.
Yeah, I know.
The Fifth Doctor was. Great. I kid you not. And I just wish he'd had a lot more time.
A quick.
Yes, go on.
Sorry, quick Fifth Doctor plug. Do you remember I told you about the Ghost Walk Big Finish audio recently?
Yes, I do. I do remember that.
That's, I think, is free to get on their Big Finishmas offer at the moment. So you should investigate that. So anyone looking for a Fifth Doctor adventure or spooky Doctor Who should check that one out.
Yeah, unless they listen to this like 2 years from now, in which case
you won't be able to get it. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. Geoff was misleading you, although not deliberately.
No, you should listen when these come out. Right, moving to my numero 5 then.
Yes.
I'm going to go here with sticking with the theme of yours. 10th Doctor's fake regeneration in Stolen Earth.
That was a moment, wasn't it? I do remember that. Dear
listeners, in the days before the internet was what it is now, you didn't have spoilers as much, and it was easier to keep secrets to an extent back then. I mean,
when is this? 2009.
9. So I can't remember whether Tennant was announced to be leaving at that point and to be doing the specials.
I think he was.
I think
he had been announced.
Yeah.
But we knew it was going to be quite a way off.
So we knew that the specials were coming.
Until suddenly.
So, yeah, you get the Stolen Earth, which is a huge epic. Davros he's taken the planets and put them second out time
Rose's
phase and
bag.
the Medusa cascade and all of this stuff in there, and it's over the top and brilliant fun. And then we see 10 go to Rose reappears, doesn't she? And Donna says, "Oh, you look over there or something," and then you get this slightly cheesy slow-mo run towards each other, but as a fan of 10 and Rose, it was quite sort of it's a bit like Jack and Rose running at each other on the Titanic after they've she's been trying to get put in the boats and the lifeboats and has broken free and it's running. James
but then, Cameron reference again.
Yeah. I like two things.
How many did you spot in today's episode?
I like two things: James Cameron films and Doctor Who. And then a Dalek peeks out from behind a van or something, and the Doctor's running, and he's got this sort of daffy smile on his face, and then he notices it, and it zaps him, and if I remember right, you only sort of see half of the skeleton because obviously he's got the two hearts.
Long time since I saw that.
Yeah, and then they get him in the TARDIS, and then he says, "Oh, it's starting," and Donna doesn't know anything about regeneration, does she? But Rose does, because obviously she was there for 9 to 10. And Jack sort of knows about it all as well, and then you get Tennant. The regeneration energy blasts out of him, and then the howl, and then the end credits. And I remember sitting there, thinking, "What the hell?" And at the time, you had to wait a week, obviously, to find out what was going on. And genuinely, my recollection of it
was bonkers.
Yeah, nobody knew whether actually have they tricked us and Tennant's done early and there's going to be someone new next week. Nobody knew. And sometimes you can go online and kind of dig around a little bit, and you might find set reports or rumours and blah blah blah. Yeah, but they kept that secret, and we were saying earlier about the secrets in the Chibnall era being really well kept, and to their credit though, they did manage to keep, whether it was deliberate or just by chance, because so much other stuff was kind of leaked and spoiled, but in the Moffat and Davies years, they did manage to keep some big secrets, like this and like the Yana thing, the stuff that really matters. I think the things that you don't want to be spoiled of in advance. So yeah, that's what I'm going with there. 10's fake regeneration, which then was resolved the next episode by he blew it into his hand, didn't he? And then it grew into Meta
the hand
Crisis.
In the jar.
Yeah,
which been
was
there since Christmas Invasion.
That's right,
nice.
And it was quite a nice kind of payoff on that. But how do I feel about Meta Crisis, Doctor? Well, he's getting a T-shirt in the Forbidden Planet range this year, which is absolutely pointless. We don't need a third David Tennant looking
Another
Doctor.
David Tennant.
But I think it was an attempt by RTD to please the Rose shippers and the non-Rose shippers. And did it work? Yeah, maybe. It happened. Yeah.
You tell us, listeners.
Yeah.
Did it work for you?
What do you
think? It's a personal thing, whether it did or not.
I think so. I didn't dislike it, but having had such a great, albeit heartbreaking, send off of Rose and 10 in series 2, bringing her back was a ballsy but well executed move in the end, and it was affecting and emotionally it worked and it was exciting and all of that. But then where does it go? How does it finish? And I think it possibly ended up being slightly written into a corner, maybe.
Swept under the carpet kind of thing.
Because she was obviously not going to just go, all right, I'm off again now, and he couldn't carry on with her because he was going to be leaving, so,
Yeah.
But the build-up to, what came before that was so good that I'm kind of all right with it.
Yeah.
So, that's my my one there.
It's a good one. Yeah, I remember that moment, that regeneration, as being the first time since I'd been at school that people were kind of really talking about what is going to happen next in Doctor Who. Paul, you know about Doctor Who. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
What's going on? Is he regenerated now or what? I don't know.
Yeah,
people. Don't come. Well, you're the Doctor Who expert. What do you know? Come on, tell us. We need to know. I have no idea. I was much in the dark. I was as surprised as all of you guys.
That was fun, not knowing. I love stuff like that. Yeah,
it was good. Yeah. So no, good shout that one, Geoff. I like that one. So, so my number, whatever number we're on now,
5
is. Yeah, it's so this is going to seem a little bit low key coming down from all these magnificent events, but again, it was another moment which kind of meant something to me watching it. It pulled a little heartstring. It tugged a little heartstring out of my heart there, mate.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the moment in one of the 10th Doctor's best stories. Paul Cornell written, Human Nature / The Family of Blood, which it was actually one of my favourite New Adventures novels. I'd read it years and years and years before, and I did laugh when I saw on social media a long time ago somebody professing so much love for Human Nature and Family Blood that they suggested they ought to write a novel of it. My gatekeeper gene kind of triggered when I saw that. And
excuse me, I must tell you.
Yeah, I sent them a little picture of what had already been done, but they seemed grateful actually, and
that would be quite a nice surprise.
I did control myself. I was quite polite about it because you wouldn't know, would you? The New Adventures were a niche audience.
Do you remember we talked about them, and I was not as into the the world as you were back then, but I didn't know anything about any of those books. You didn't know.
Yeah. Missing out. Anyway, so within that story, there is a point at which John Smith, the teacher, who looks suspiciously like the 10th Doctor, but actually has none of his memories at all, living the life of a human being in a school, pulls out this, or is it Martha who finds
the diary?
The diary, the journal of impossible things. And as the pages are being flicked over, we see images kind of half sketched, sort of shadowy, penciled or charcoal drawings of the faces from the past, and a bit of a police box and a bit of a fob watch. And in amongst that, we get the 8th Doctor's face, which was the... and on a twofold thing, it was the first time in the new series that the classic series had kind of been brought into it, if I recall.
I think so,
it
yeah.
Might have, certain elements might have been mentioned, obviously, but it was the first time we saw actual imagery from the classic series. So now the glue was stitching together, it's pulling these two things together closer towards each other. And that was a real moment for me, sort of seeing that, because there was the old program that I'd grown up with and loved and gone through all my sort of teenage years with, and here it was now in my adult life pulling that towards me, so I really appreciated that. They didn't need to do it, and I suspect a lot of it is down to Paul Cornell sort of obviously writing it in, and Russell saying, yeah, that's a good idea, we'll have that, keep it in, and it's just brilliant. And the actual detail in those drawings
they're really nice.
Well.
I wonder who did them.
I don't know, but if somebody does know, then by all means tweet us,
do let us know,
and tell us. So yeah, and there've been a few moments after that where we've seen flashbacks to old Doctors and things, and of course in the Power of Doctor we got that wonderful moment with the old guys in there. So, but this is where all that started. So this for me is the moment. If you like.
That was really cool. Yeah, I like that. Okay, great. Yeah, I don't have much more to say on that one. It was good. So
I said it all.
I'm going to come in at 5 with. Let me look at my list. Let's go with Clara dying, and you know she and then also part B is when 12 then meets Clara again in the diner, and he doesn't really remember her. So I'm, as anyone listening knows, I'm a big Clara fan.
You never know,
and
never know.
In Face the Raven, you know, she's sort of increasingly become doctor-like and more confident in sure in her thing and herself and you know what she's doing, and she's trying to you know, help Rigsy here, but it all goes a bit pear-shaped, and you know, she sort of thinks, oh, you know, this will be fine, the doctor will help me and fix this, but actually he can't, and there's that awful but brilliant moment where Clara knows that she's got to, you know, she hasn't got much time left, and she's talking to 12. And Peter, they're both so good, but Peter is just wonderful in that scene. You know, there's so much kind of withheld, you know, he's trying really hard to keep it together, I think, you know, the character, you know. And then she goes out and you know, the Raven flies down the street there. And, you know, she's got her arms out and it hits her. And, you know, she then collapses on the street, and you know, that's sort of it there at that point. And also, I think actually we didn't know whether that was. I think it was kind of, oh, that's it then. So she's dead. You know, then Rigsy sprays all those lovely flowers and stuff on the TARDIS, which looks so nice. But there'd been a leaked set photo of Jenna in the waitress outfit, which by that point in the series airing had not appeared. So either it was something that was cut, which seems unlikely to do something substantial like that and cut it on a show like Doctor Who, or it was still to come. So there was still an element of, well, maybe she's going to, you know, reappear. And then, of course, you know, Doctor, you know, moves heaven and earth to be able to bring her back just that second before the heartbeat, you know, finishes. And, you know, you some people may feel it kind of undermined it, but I think actually it gave us some, you know, such a tragic but sort of stupidly heroic death, which then led to something even more kind of heartbreaking, you know, afterwards when you know, they've got the little device that's going to wipe someone's memory and they won't remember the other one, and you don't initially know who it's worked on, and then you know, you sort of realise it's the Doctor, and then you know, he strolls into the diner and which is then revealed to be her TARDIS, and she obviously knows it's him, and then he plays the Clara melody, which is such a beautiful kind of fairy tale, you know, whimsical melody, one of my favourites, and it's just it's so sad that, you know, he's lost her and she remembers. And then two kind of follow-ons is there's a bit in the only episode I ever watched of Class, which is when Capaldi cameoed, and they're at Coal Hill School, and he looks at the list of people who've died or something that's on the wall. And one of them is C. Oswald, and he runs his finger down and he points at it, and he has this moment. He sort of seems to kind of vaguely, you know, have a memory. And then in the Target adaptation of The Witchfinders, we catch up with Clara and me. She's travelling with me in their TARDIS. I think 13 goes to see them. I think that's what happens. There's some mention anyway, which people were quite pleased to.
For anybody who hasn't read the Witchfinders Target novelisation, close your ears.
Well, no, I mean, if you've if you've not read it and you haven't watched it either, you know, it's like it's kind of just the same, you know. It's only a tiny little bit, but it was cool. So yeah, that's mine. Clara's death and resurrection.
It was good. I did enjoy it. Do you know, I was thinking now while you were talking about that, we could potentially do a podcast on those three stories at the end of season 9, because I think as a 3-part story, they work brilliantly.
They do, and I can never remember which way round. It's Hell Bent or Heaven Sent, but the one which is
Heaven Sent first, I think.
Yeah, where it's just Capaldi on his own.
Two-hander. It's single-hander. Even.
Yeah, except with that rotting corpse thing in its white bedsheet. It's just superb episode, and quite ballsy to do something that kind of essentially odd in a big show like this with just the one person, and any of the Doctors could have done something along those lines, but that was perfectly suited to Capaldi and his Doctor. It's a fantastic episode. But yeah, maybe the Raven trilogy, as we'll now call it, would be worth revisiting. We'll add that to our list of stuff for this year.
Add it to the list of possibles.
Yeah.
Right, okay, if you want to see that, ladies and gentlemen, just tweet us in and let us know.
Or call us
Yay or nay.
0800 111 111 Raven.
Okay. Amazing, mate. No idea what you said, but let's go with it. Onwards to what number are we on now, great mate? Crikey, we've still got 4 of these to go. Yeah. Right, I'm going to pick it up a little bit now. Okay. I'm sticking with the 12th Doctor, but I'm moving on a season. You did the end of season 9. I'm going to go for the end of season 10. The very last... it's not the very last adventure of the 12th Doctor. I thought it was for a second, but it's not. It's the penultimate story of the 12th Doctor. The Doctor falls, and there are 2 amazing moments in there. The first of which I thought was astonishingly brilliant, right? And add that brilliant, astonishingly brilliant, and it's just a wonderful. Stephen Moffat, when he's on form, he can write some amazing stories, and his plotting is incredible. Anyone could tell a story and go from A to B to C to D to E, F, G, all the way through to Z. And it'd be great. Be a great story. Make perfect logical sense. But Stephen Moffat is one of those people who will write a story and plot it from M to B to Q to P, then back to B, then back to M, then taken half of N. It will go all over the alphabet but it will make sense most of the time. And this is one of the stories where it absolutely makes sense, and it's not quite as fractured. The storytelling isn't quite as fractured as some of his other things, but the best what he does here is he brings 2 masters together, Missy and John Sims' master, and I don't think we've ever had 2 masters in the TV show before. We've had 2 Doctors, we've had 3 Doctors, we've had 5 Doctors, but this is the first time we get 2 masters, and mate, they work brilliantly.
They were so good.
So we've got Missy who seems to be kind of willing to redeem her evil doings and take some tutelage from the Doctor, who's actually weirdly had her incarcerated for most of the series, but for her own good, because if she steps out of it, she would be executed by these weirdos. So he's kind of saved her life, and right at the end of this season, she's given the keys to the TARDIS to take them on an adventure, isn't she? And they just end up at the start of a sequence of tragic events, which will eventually see the death of Bill, pretty much, and the death of the Doctor, or the fall of the Doctor, and the fall of everything that he seems to value, everything that he seems to embody, everything that he strives for and battles against. Really, it all gets the better of him. It destroys him in this episode, and it's done unintentionally. It just kind of happens. Missy doesn't mean to take them to this cyber spaceship at the edge of a black hole, and the events that kind of transpire from that have nothing to do really with either the Doctor or Missy or the Master, really. Or they do actually start to become consequences of the Master's intervention, by which I mean the John Sim Master, right? Because once he realises the Doctor's there, then that's just it. That's just red flag to a bull. He goes for it, and he gets even more of a kick when he realises Missy is there as well, a future incarnation of himself. He has a lot of fun, and Missy starts to, and there's this push-pull between, with Missy. She's got the Doctor on the one side, trying to convince her that she can be a good person, that she can do good, that she can bring hope to other people, and then then you've got her earlier self, her younger self saying, nah, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Come on, this is fun. This is what we do.
Yeah.
The Doctor, and she's really torn between the two.
Yeah.
And then right at the end of that, we get this beautiful moment, which is pure Stephen Moffat, where they kill each other.
Yeah.
Basically,
they're lying on the ground,
younger version and the older version of the Master, they both shoot each other and they laugh their socks off at the irony of it, presumably, because the John Sim Master is going to regenerate perhaps into Missy, and who knows what's going to happen to Missy? Does she die on that spaceship and on the edge of the black hole? Does she become the Sacha Dhawan Master or whatever? It's just, it is brilliant, and I love the character play between that threesome, that trio, if you like. The Doctor, the John Sim Master, and Missy. It was done to a T, and that is an episode which, as the final moments of it played out, is another one of those that had me jumping off my seat, because again, like you said, with David Tennant, and the blue suited Doctor, the Metacrisis Doctor, we knew that Peter Capaldi was already hanging up his Doctor's coat. He was going to regenerate. We knew it was going to be soon, and it looked like we started to see wisps of regeneration energy, didn't we? As he sort of piloted the TARDIS after this cataclysmic series of events, his coat all tattered. He'd literally been rescued by Bill the Cyberman, right? And and he finds himself in this snowy waste ground. Yeah. And we don't quite know what it is, but then I think we start to suspect very slowly, and then we see the shadow of the first Doctor appear through the ice, and it's like, oh my God, no, I know exactly where we are. Yeah. We are on the set of the 10th planet, right? And whatever happens next is going to be something. So, and then it ends, and that was. Again, this is when Freya was watching Doctor Who with me. This was the first series that she'd watched, and even she was jumping off the sofa saying, "Oh my goodness," you know what I mean? It was like the both of us were just enjoying what was happening and what we thought might happen and what seemed to be happening. It was like, it's one of those things where you kind of wish that we'd been doing reaction videos, because we would have literally cleansed out YouTube if we'd have done that. It was amazing, that those moments like that for me, this is another one of them.
Yes, it's an epic finale there, and like you said, the interplay between the three of them is brilliant. And where did Sasha's Master come in the timeline? Who cares? The whole thing is so
He's
so
there, isn't
good,
it? So,
and it was inevitable the Master would come back, in some way. Twice upon a time, isn't it? It probably would have been more effective to have finished it in the Doctor Falls, but they had to do the Christmas one. But he did a good job with it, Moffat, and it's a cracking Christmas sort of finale there. I love that concept of the ship near the black hole in World Enough and Time, where one end of it is the time is passing quicker.
Yeah, you see,
and
again,
slower.
Who comes up
when
with something like that? When you get the science right in Doctor Who, and you use it to help the story, it's brilliant. I love it. The science there, as far as we know, from what we know of black holes, that's exactly how it works, or how it might work given what we know, if you like. So I love that aspect.
Right, I'm going to go to my numero 4.
Dun, 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 dun.
Which is, I'm just going to do this one sort of quickly, because we're sort of taking a long time on some of them. This is when...
because we're talking about our favourite things, Geoff.
We are, yeah. Avatar and Doctor Who. So this is the 11th Doctor talking to Idris, and her telling him that she loves him. So the Doctor's Wife is a great episode by Neil Gaiman.
I love it.
It's great fun, with Idris being, the TARDIS personified, and she's sort of a bit, kooky and odd and weird and everything. But they play off each other brilliantly, and I just love the idea of, throughout all the time and space, the TARDIS, she is the one that's there, all the time, and it slightly flips the thing of, well, maybe I stole you, rather than the Doctor stealing her, which was quite fun, and that they got the chance to sort of be together, and the TARDIS to properly talk to talk to the Doctor, and then she comes back in that sort of hologrammy form at the end. I remember, that really got me there. Beautifully done. So that's my number 4.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's a good one, actually. Yes.
I think it from across the whole show. That is the one relationship that has been there across the whole thing, and Matt's Doctor particularly, he called the TARDIS sexy and and stuff like that, and then they took it a bit further with 13. The TARDIS made noises and she talked to it, and it lit up when she touched it and things like that. So it's it's sentient and it's aware, and I think turning it into Idris was brilliant.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, first time we see the TARDIS with a voice and the personality embodied. So yeah, definitely, I love that. For my number 3 now, so we are getting into the final stretch of our countdown. It's getting exciting now, isn't it? Right. So I'm just going to quote this for you now. Right. I'm not going to even try and do the voice, but here we go.
You want to.
Yeah. There are worlds out there where the sky is burning, where the seas are asleep and the rivers dream. People made of smoke, cities made of song. Somewhere there's danger, somewhere there's injustice, and somewhere else the tea's getting cold. Come on, Ace, we've got work to do. Do you know what I mean?
And
do I need to say any more? Do I need to say any more?
A great summarisation of the show and the Doctor and the companion and the adventures that they have and will have in that little speech there. Yeah, brilliant.
And the end of an era.
And could have been the end of it all. It was at the time. Brilliant little bit there. Yeah, great. I'm going to. Do I want to change to? I deleted something that was connected to that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stick with my number 3.
Go for it. Yes.
Which is Clara when she enters 11's new TARDIS interior in the Snowman.
I did think of doing a TARDIS interior reveal.
Well, I've got another one as well. Not because it's a Clara moment, but because I love the. Sort of, it's on the cloud. It's a little bit sort of demented, kind of Mary Poppins type thing. For me, it's the not only the kind of the camera shot and the technical stuff of it, but the excitement of that reveal. She runs around it, and then you clearly see this is a small little box.
Yeah,
and then the camera goes in, and the 11th Doctor's theme kicks in, dun, 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 and he puts his arms out, and he's so kind of, he's a little bit cocky at that moment, but you can kind of forgive him because it looks freaking awesome. All the lights flare up and everything, and it looks amazing, and it's such a great shot. And then it's
pretty good.
She undermines the slight cockiness by going, it's smaller on the outside, which is not what he's expecting to say. So yeah, that's a great shot for a number of reasons there. So that's my 3.
Yeah. That's a good one, and kind of representative, I guess, of all the TARDIS reveals throughout the series history. They've all been great, from the very first episode in the junkyard.
Yeah,
Barbara and Ian kind of stumble through into this glare of white in the middle of this tatty old police box in the middle of a junkyard, and it's brilliant when it's done. Even Tegan in Legopolis, actually one of the most creepiest TARDIS reveals, if you like, literally getting lost alone in its corridors. The first time really the TARDIS felt really alien and just strange and ancient as well. So well done. Yeah, I think that's a good one, my friend. So I've gone for, so now we're in number 2, aren't we? So I'm surprised you haven't said this one already, actually, but I'm going to bring this one right up to date with the 13th Doctor, and specifically a moment from Series 12, which also had me jumping off my chair at the sheer balls of it, because I couldn't believe they were doing this. But we have a lighthouse on the edge of the land, and we have a tour guide who has suddenly just defeated a whole bunch of Jadoon, and she doesn't quite know how or why, but she's been called towards this lighthouse. And whilst the Doctor is kind of following something that's not quite right and digging in the garden, the tour guide is being drawn to this break glass thing on the edge, and we're starting to think, oh my goodness, what's going on here? Then we've seen a chameleon arch before. This is another one of those moments. Ruth isn't who she thinks she was, and we don't know who she is. Is she another master, another Time Lord, or what? But nothing could have prepared me for the 13th Doctor finding the top of the light from the police box in the ground, and then Ruth standing over saying, "Let me take it from the top. Hello, I'm the Doctor. I'm a traveller in space and time. And that thing buried down there is called a TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space. You're going to love this." And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Seriously? So begins the whole start of one of the biggest kind of disruptions to the timeline or what we thought was the timeline of the Doctor. And of course, for the Doctor's point of view herself, suddenly we don't know who the Doctor is anymore. No. She doesn't know who she is anymore. No. Everything we thought we knew is wrong, just like the Master told us in Spyfall. Wow, what a moment.
What a reveal, what an incredible moment. And, they'd played it, it's fugitive of the Jadoon this next episode. What a jolly.
A nice comedy episode about the Jadoon with Captain Jack back, when we thought, well, that's all the surprises that this one has. Yeah. Oh, my goodness, we were wrong.
We had no ideas, And, there's a thing that says Chibnall just kind of made that up at the last minute. I don't believe that.
Geoff?
No, that was like, that's not. No, I literally mean that. It was. He was supposedly said that it was a last minute introduction, but I think that's playing it down. I don't think you could do something that big without some plan for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's one of those moments where he might not have planned for it. I think the whole timeless child thing was very much there in his head. He knew where that was going. But then you get this thing, and it's just like when the idea occurs to you, it's just too good not to include it.
Yeah, and it may not necessarily.
Because you're like, that's what we need.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It might not have been there from the outset.
Yeah.
But because I think he did say in an interview somewhere that it wasn't exactly planned as such. He just kind of thought about it. And it was like, why not? Let's do this. And there we go, bang. Because do you know what? That's how ideas occur to you. You don't always plan these things.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes you just write stuff and you're like, wow, that's too good an idea not to do something.
Yes, stuff takes on a life of its own.
There's my bigger plan. This can help the bigger plan now, and it's right in the middle of the season where we need that extra little kick. I love that moment. I think it's fantastic. As someone who's been watching Doctor Who since you were little in '70s, and I thought I'd seen everything. No, and it just reignited my love for the show. It was already burning pretty high anyway during that series, but then the flame just went higher because I love all that kind of stuff. I've always said on this podcast before that when Doctor Who starts getting boring, I'm out. It never has got boring enough because it's constantly changing, constantly renewing itself. And I would like to say constantly looking forward, but of course we've got a nice big retroactive kind of history fest coming up shortly. But that's allowed in context of the 60th anniversary. But let's see what happens afterwards. So yes, that's my number 2, Geoff. The Fugitive reveal. What's yours?
Mine is 13th Doctor turning into a stone angel at the end of Village of the Angels.
I knew that had to come up somewhere.
AKA the greatest Doctor Who cliffhanger of all time.
You always loved this.
I love that. I fell and I jumped and then fell off the sofa, and in equal measure, I thought, Chibnall, you madman! What an incredible cliffhanger!
That's brilliant.
What a visual! The Doctor turning to stone like that, and all the noises of the stone creaking and crunching and blah blah blah. But how are they going to get out of that? And it's fairly quickly resolved. And I've seen some people say it cheapens it. I couldn't care less because the moment of it do you know what I mean? Sometimes, personally, I didn't think it undermined it. It was clear that she was being
No,
pulled.
I mean, she's being transported in
exactly.
an angel form,
Yeah.
and the angels are doing it because they think it'll be fun, basically.
And
that's all it is, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's such a great image and such a shocker that I want to know how she's going to get out of it, and the fact that then she ends up amongst all the angels and things, and it's a great continuation of it.
Those couple of minutes opening that next episode.
That's Survivors of the Flux, isn't it?
Survivors of the Flux.
Do you remember we asked director Azur Salim on our podcast with him whether the angels talking were Jodie doing it, and he wasn't sure, was he? Because he didn't do that side of the audio work on it. So I should look that up one day. But yeah, that's
do that, Geoff.
That's my number 2. So what's your number 1?
Okay, now we come to the big guns now. This is it. This is the moment all the listeners have been hanging on to this podcast waiting for. So what could possibly top Fugitive of the Jadoon? What could top the speech at the end of Survival, or Adric's death, or the Spy Master's reveal in Spyfall, or even Yana's reveal in Utopia? I'll tell you what it is. Here it is, Geoff. Are you ready for this?
Yep, go for it.
My number 1. It happens at the end of a story that was never broadcast. Or was never broadcast, or because it was never finished until quite recently. We're talking Sharda, mate. Absolutely.
Interesting.
Which, for a story that was never finished or doesn't even exist, does have an awful lot of versions of it around.
Which edit are you watching? 800th version?
I'm talking of the latest, the most definitive, which I believe was is one with the animated parts. So they've reconstructed some of these lost studio sessions in animated form. And I wanted to go for this for 2 reasons. Firstly, because I wanted to acknowledge the animations and how brilliant they are in bringing to life lost Doctor Who, and and even unfinished Doctor Who. The way that the animation sort of blends into the live action elements of Sharda, the fact that they use the voices of the actors who were there to say their lines, the fact that they get David Brearley to do K9 and not John Leeson, who did it in an earlier version, is ideal, because David Brearley was K9 for season 17, and this is a season 17 story, and it makes sense that he should be the voice of K9. But the number 1 moment in that story, which I've grown to love over the years, and more so since this version came out, and more so even since they chopped it into its actual 6 parts on the season 17 collection Blu-ray box set, is the moment right at the end when the story's finished and we've all had a bit of a laugh and a jolly, and the Doctor and Romana are back in the TARDIS. Romana's off screen. We hear Lalla Ward's voice, and we hear Tom Baker's voice, and we see the Doctor's legs under the TARDIS. And this again is a moment that wasn't actually filmed back in 1979, and it's also not animated. So whose legs are those? Probably a stunt double, to be honest, because I think Tom Baker couldn't actually get down on the floor, and if he did, he would have some trouble getting up again, so it's best not to risk it. But when the camera pulls up from the hands on the console when he stands up, and it just pulls up to reveal Tom Baker's face with his white hair and his old face, and do you know what? I'm actually feeling emotional just talking about it right now, because this is the thing, it's like they didn't need to do that in the story. They could have just animated that part of it, right? But the fact that they did, what that means to me is that a lot of the creation of this stuff, like our podcast, for example, Geoff, I would include our podcast in this mix. It comes from a passion, it comes from a kind of a connection with something that you can't always explain, and it might just be a silly old TV show on the face of things that, where the sets fall down and the special effects don't always work, and we can have, foam trees in a wood filled with actual trees and believe that they can wrap their hands around Perry to sort of rescue her from distress. But you know what? It doesn't matter, does it? None of that stuff matters, because we all, in our way, love this show. And what better expression of that could there be than for the people who are reconstructing a story that was never made, that didn't need to be finished, but and actually bringing back Tom Baker to play the 4th Doctor to do it with. brilliant.
Yeah, it's a brilliant moment. Yeah, good choice. Yeah.
That's my number one, Geoff.
Yeah,
so there you go, mate. Top that if you can.
Okay, well, my number one is from the Ghost Monument, which is the 13th Doctor reuniting with her Ghost Monument, her TARDIS, going inside it and seeing the new interior and getting her custard cream, which I wish we'd see more of. I've mentioned a few times probably that when I watched that episode, I was just bawling with joy at how beautiful and how wonderful that bit was. I mentioned 11th Doctor and Idris just now, and their I love you, and 13, going into that TARDIS. I love the interior, I love the reveal, the way it kind of lights up, and the camera tracks back through it, and she discovers it as we discover it, and the music, and it's just the sun on that. She runs up the hill onto the TARDIS. It's the single most beautiful and joyful Doctor Who scene ever for me. I love it. And even when I watch it now, I'm still like, it just gets me, because it's a bit like your Tom Baker moment there. It's a definitive, defining moment for me. And with Jodie's Doctor, I was already kind of hooked, from The Woman Who Fell to Earth. But that moment, Ghost Monument was a great, kind of, alien planet race type thing, and then this bit at the end, I was like, oh wow, this is it for me, So that's my number one. So I've got a few that I'll just run through very quickly from some of our regular listeners. So that they've written just very short bits. So you'll have to see if you can pick what episode they're from. So this is from Katie Haynes, and her number one is Not a Bad Date, Am I? And then number 2, Ice Cream. Then The Master's Rasputin Dance, good choice.
Yes.
4, She Likes You. 5, Daleks Do Not Have Friends. That must be Eve of the Daleks, which is great. I love Dan taunting that Dalek. 6, The Master's Doctor Outfit. 7, Extended Fam. 8, We're Ace. That's that. I was going to say the entirety of Power of the Doctor, actually, but 7 and Ace, having their moment together was fantastic on there. Then in capital, she's put Seeing 8 again. I wish this would go on forever. And then a bonus of Tag You're It. This is from Ian Banks. Unlimited Rice Pudding.
Yes, the remembrance speech.
Yep. The model shot that opens part 1 of Trial of a Time Lord. That's cool. That was an impressive shot.
Very much so.
Am I Real? Of Course You're Real. Forest of the Dead. Do you think I care for you so little that betraying me would make a difference? That's from Deep Water. That's 12 and Clara, where they're in. I think they're in the little lava volcano bit, and she's throwing the keys into the lava, TARDIS keys into the lava.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because she wants him to go back and save Danny, I think.
Weird story, that one.
Yeah. But what's it all for? Tom losing his shit in the pirate planet. That's number 5.
That's brilliant, that moment, actually. Yeah. What's it all for?
The moment we realise what has been going on in Heaven Sent. Rose, I'm coming to get you. Bad Wolf. Oh, mate. Resolution. No, Sir. All 13 from Day of the Doctor. That was on my list, but I didn't go with that one in the end. Nice to see you again from the 5 Doctors, and a punch that the Brigadier has wanted to deliver for decades.
Yeah.
And he's also got an honourable mention of, in fact, I'd go so far as to say that what this country needs right now is a doctor, from The Sound of Drums. And then we've got Mackenzie Floor, who says number 1 is we're all stories in the end, better make it a good one, eh?
I like that, yeah.
Number 2, there's no point in being grown up if you can't act a little childish sometimes.
Yep.
Number 3, do you know, in 900 years of time and space, I've never met anyone who wasn't important before. I'm just going to pause this there, because those are 3 great quotes, I think, that kind of sum up the Doctor as an entire character, really well. That they see everyone as important, and there's that inherent childlike nature to them, which is really prominent. I think in 13 at times, and at times with 11 as well. And I just like we're all stories in the end. Better make it a good one. Live a good life. Number 4, Abigail singing. I can't remember what that's from. Is that from Christmas Carol?
Christmas Carol.
Yeah. What's her name? The Jenkins, Catherine Jenkins, yeah.
Catherine Jenkins, well done. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Number 5, Yaz saying "I've never told anyone" was good, but the moment she said "not even myself," that's another little moment that's just beautifully delivered.
Nicely done.
Hey, who turned out the lights? Oh God,
hey,
scary.
Who turned out the lights?
Yeah.
Freya still quotes that at me.
Does
Whenever
she?
I turn the lights out, she always goes, "Hey, who turned out the lights?" I've been back to her as well.
Number
then it gives
7.
nightmares and she can't sleep.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, you see the dust in the air. Yeah. No Sir, all 13. Another vote for that. Number 8.
Oh yes, brilliant. I love that. That was unexpected, wasn't it?
I'm going to get killed by a Christmas tree. Donna telling the Doctor you need someone to stop you, which is from
we talked about this the other week, didn't we?
Yeah, Runaway Bride, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I would care for you so little that betraying me would make a difference, which was the same 12 and Clara that we just had. And then he's currently Robot of DFS sale, Robot of Death, Pompeii button sharing, Jacoby opens the fob watch, should have been a better way, Pertwee arrives in the alternate universe, Auton's break shop window on screen, Ace and Tegan return, because they'll be sad tomorrow, Clara in the Doctor's time stream, I forgot about that as well, Harrison Chase, and 13 discovers Ruth's TARDIS. Those are the ones that we had come in from everyone, so thank you very much. So this has been a long one, so we're going to sign off now, and thank you for listening to Radio Who Corner to Corner.
Radio Who Corner to Corner, back with you soon, great mates.
Yeah, catch you next time. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Yeah, that was quite abrupt in the end, Geoff. You just
it was.
cut that one straight off.
I thought you were giving me a TV style 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shut it.
Shut it, mate. Shut it. But
get
no,
off
indeed.
the air.
Thank you for thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. I don't know how you subscribe or whatever. Just click a button somewhere and
click
it'll
a
happen.
little plus thing on iTunes, or you can follow on Twitter or various things. But yeah, stick with us, and we'll see you soon.
Bye for now.